The pillow face and, the overdone actresses, you're seeing surgery.
What's pillow face mean?
Pillow face.
Give us some jargon.
Pillow face is not jargon. It is TikTok.
TikTok?
Okay? It's TikTok. And we're talking about filler migration. These are like the buzzwords people are seeing online. I don't want filler migration. I don't want pillow face. I don't want to look overdone. Well, that is excessive aesthetic procedures.
What's up, Sarasota? We're back with another episode of Sarasota SpeaX. This is episode 102, and today we have our guests, Beth Bob and Jamie Florio from Sarasota Facial Aesthetics. How are you today?
We're great, thank you.
You skipped. I'm Trey Martel.
Felipe Colon.
There you go. Now you guys got.
Brad makes it look so easy to do the same thing every day for 100 episodes, so we miss him. Anyway, Beth, Jamie, welcome to Sarasota SpeaX. Tell us about Sarasota Facial Aesthetics and what you do and why Sarasota needs to know you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having us. We've really been looking forward to this.
Yes, thanks so much.
And my name is Beth Bob. I'm one of the owners and managing partner at Sarasota Facial Aesthetics. And we are located in Southside Village. We are almost 8-year-old practice. We do non-invasive and surgical facial aesthetic procedures and treatments. So we offer a variety of different services, and our overarching goal is to really help our patients as they age, to do it in a very natural way. And so we are a somewhat small but mighty practice. So in sheer volume, we are a large practice, but we really focus the day in and day out on making it more of a boutique, more concierge, more personalized practice.
Let's break it down for our guests who may not know that neighborhood where you are. Southside Village, for people who don't know, is by the hospital. And from what I understand, there's a reason that you've chose to locate in that area.
Yes.
A reason that may separate you from other types of establishments that may have some similar services to you. You want to elaborate on that now?
Absolutely. So I had the privilege of acquiring Sarasota Facial Aesthetics about 7.5 years ago, along with my partner, Sue McCann. I had spent already 8 years in the facial aesthetics business. I sold Botox and facial fillers, and my partner, Sue McCann, is the clinical director of our practice and is a board-certified nurse practitioner who provides the treatments in our office. She formerly was a customer of mine. We were approached to acquire Sarasota Facial Aesthetics, and it was already in the heart of Southside Village neighborhood. So when we acquired the practice, it was just a one-provider, one-man show, and we had shared the same vision of what we would want a practice to look like. Although we were not looking to open our own business, I was very happy in medical aesthetics. She was with a large dermatology practice at the time, but we pursued the opportunity, and we're so glad we did. We have since grown and decided to stay in Southside Village. We love the neighborhood. Our neighbors are incredible. We're down from a historic landmark known as Morton's Market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had that on.
Todd Morton, past podcasts and maybe future podcast guest. Shout out there.
Yes, absolutely. And so, we love the neighborhood. And when we were looking to move, we really asked our patients, where would you feel as comfortable going? And they really wanted us to stay in that neighborhood. We feel like that is kind of home for us, and we're grateful to be there.
I was also kind of trying to toss up a softball there because that's
the hospital is right in front of it.
That's Doctor's Row.
So for us nurse practitioners, that is certainly lovely that we have that resource if we need it. Luckily for us, we are a very safe practice, and that's one of our biggest focuses. So we generally have not needed to use that service.
Well,
but
it's still like a central hub, a central area that people, when they think about, medical anything, it's that area.
Yes.
No, it puts you on a different level in a way.
Yes.
In the mix.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, whenever. I'll always stop for you.
Interruptions are never, I'm sorry. Interruptions are, that's what we do here.
Yeah. Well, and that's great. I'm so glad you brought that up because it is very important to us in our practice. I think that's why when we talk about what type of practice we are a medical aesthetic practice. Everything is geared towards not only the results, but the safety of what we do. And when you asked about us staying in that neighborhood, the hospital's there and our medical directors are there. We feel honored to have Sarasota Plastic Surgery Center are our medical directors. And we believe strongly in that because we want to make sure sure that we have that upper echelon of services and safety and coverage to our practice and our patients.
That's certainly a name that I hear around town a lot. Not that I know anything really about what you do, or but you hear that name a lot in town when people do talk about these procedures and no.
When you guys talk about new customers, how many of them are first timers that have seek this type of treatment, and how many of them leave other establishments to come to you?
I would say 25% of our customers are new to a treatment, if they're new to the area, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Now, are you talking, what's the majority of your business? What
we
procedure?
have a lot of repeat clientele.
Yeah.
And like our biggest, all of our services really get a lot of
but what's your best seller for your services?
But facials are always in demand.
Okay.
And neuromodulators like Botox and Dysport, those are things that you have to keep up with. You have to do every 3 to 4 months.
Neuromodulator. Break that down for us.
So a neuromodulator.
You're the nurse practitioner, right? We got to get it right from the source.
So a neuromodulator is, you've heard of Botox. Everyone's heard of Botox. Botox was the first, right? So what it's going to do is basically make your muscles not be able to move the same way that they normally do, so that we're softening our expression lines. And by softening our expression lines and not being able to make these faces that make creases, we can soften our smile lines and our frown lines. And it can lift the face. I mean, there's a lot of strategic places you can put Botox. So Botox lasts 3 to 4 months, and that is why it is such a popular treatment, because you have to keep coming back for it.
Cool. Follow-up question.
Recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So the Botox for first-time users, what type of objections do you get to it, and how do you squash those myths?
So a lot of it is myths. It's myth busting. Like, we have TikTok doctors, and we always know our Dr. Google, and now we have ChatGPT, and we take these words as, like, we hear it, see it on the internet, so it must be true. A big part of what we do is education. The complimentary consultation is not just, this is what you need, this is what's wrong with your face, this is how much I want you to spend here. It's talking to our patients, figuring out their aesthetic goals, their budget, and clearing up some myths. For example, Botox has an extremely safe profile. It's been rigorously studied in peer-reviewed journal articles. It's been around for decades upon decades. It does not cross the blood-brain barrier. So it's a very safe product. So that's a big part of it, is educating them on what it's going to do, what it actually is, and what to expect.
What type of fears do the customers have when they come in, though? What are their...
I don't want to look overdone.
Okay.
I want to look natural. Well, we want that for you, too. I mean, that's exactly what we want for you. We want you to look like you, just the best version of you.
I bet you get some people who do want to look overdone, though, because they want everybody to know that I got the money to go spend over there at the whatever,
We say no.
But you get that, I'm sure.
We do. Of course, everyone wants something different. We shouldn't all want to look the same. We should, be unique. But we, of course, have people that come in and want to, overfill or do things that we disagree with, and we as providers do have to toe the line, and we will say no. We will say we are not going to fill your lips anymore. They are to our capacity.
Is that usually where you get it on the lips?
It's a common area. It's a common area.
All right. So another service you guys offer is scar removal. Is that correct? Do you do a lot of that, or?
So yes, we have a new ablative laser that I'm in love with. It's a CO2 laser. I am currently working with several patients on acne scarring.
Okay.
So I'm getting amazing results from it. Stay tuned. You'll see that on our.
So it's it's a newer deal now.
It's a newer treatment that we're offering because CO2 is the gold standard for skin resurfacing. So that encompasses scars. It's fine lines. It's deep wrinkles. It's pores. So there's a lot we can do with this machine. I'm working on a scar on our medical assistant's hand right now. I'm playing with it.
So you're doing human testing?
Essentially, but it's fun human testing.
Right here in Sarasota, you heard it here first.
Yes. I have volunteers, okay? A lot of them.
You always want to talk? Go ahead.
I always do want to talk. But you were asking the business questions.
I was going deep.
So
he's got questions.
Yeah.
He needs answers.
But you mentioned you have this new equipment. Since we're on the topic of equipment, how important is it that an establishment like yours has the capacity to not only stay up to date with some of the new trends. I hate the word trends, but I don't know what else to say. New technologies, but then also make the capital investments to have those available for their clients. You want to talk about that a little bit? Because I'm sure this is a relatively capital intensive endeavor, and that separates you, if you can invest in those things, from competition.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when I was on the other side of this business and I was in sales, we used to advise our customers, if it plugs in, don't buy it because it's going to break, it's going to get outdated. But when we now look at it as an owner of practice and seeing patients and as providers, we know that we need to offer them something that works for skin resurfacing. So we have a very comprehensive approach. It's going to include injectables, but it is going to include those lasers that are capital equipment. So we study them for a long time. These reps, wish that we were a quicker sell than we are when it comes to purchasing capital equipment. And we, we'll trial it for a long time. We need to make sure the results are there. But we know it's a worthwhile investment because these patients need it for the overall skin resurfacing and health of their skin.
Right. We tried several different lasers before we agreed upon this one. And that's what we do for anything that we bring into the practice, from new biostimulants to new machines, specifically machines. We are results driven. We want to get you a result. We don't want to sell you a treatment to sell you a treatment. We want to treat you with what's going to get you the result you are looking for. And if we are going to bring a new machine on, we want to make sure it's going to deliver. Half of my job can't be defending, yes, you got a result. Results speak for themselves. That's why we take our before and after pictures, and that's why we have a lookbook that's in our offices that have all of our before and afters in them for our patients to look through so that they can see that we're really getting these great results with what we have in our office.
Well, what do you say to the men out there like Felipe that are kind of like, they're real manly men? Can they benefit from your services? Or
You think I'm not treating manly men? I'm treating manly men. I laser my husband. I Botox my husband. My brother flies in, speaking of football, he worked for Clemson's football team and West Point. He flies in and gets lasers. He's coming next week. So, yeah, manly men are already doing this, and they probably just look refreshed. Probably don't know.
Maxing, Trey, Google that.
Okay.
It's the kids
if you're looking around and you're like, oh, they don't need to get any work, then they look good. It's because they're already doing it.
We're gonna get back to men later. As much as we like to talk about stereotyping women as the people who do this, a lot of men are doing this.
Oh,
stuff
they
right
are. I
now.
can confirm. Yeah.
But I kind of want to highlight a more business question on the line, Trey. Was in terms of separating you from the competition. Obviously, this is a positive podcast. We don't do bad mouthing. We don't do any of that here.
But which services around town suck? Can you name them? Who botches everyone?
Let me ask it in a more diplomatic way, Trey, and give them ability to move.
Plead the fifth.
Please continue.
No, but this is important.
If you had to recommend a place someone doesn't go.
No, but here's the way to ask that nicely, right? Obviously,
Teach him.
You see people who come from other places, you hinted at this earlier, and who may or may not have had work done that is not up to the level and quality standards that you espouse at your establishment. What types of things have you seen? Any horror stories?
Or where does the competition fall short, in your opinion?
Yeah, where does the competition fall short? Nice job.
So there's a lot of talented medical aesthetic practices in town, right? Of course, there is some intermingling of practices. In general, though, we also are not going to ever badmouth another practice. But people will come to us when they're out of town or they couldn't get an appointment with their other provider, and they'll switch to us because the overall experience is what sets us apart from the minute you walk in through the door. Our front desk is exceptional, but we also go above and beyond to stay in touch with our patients. You get a 2-week follow-up for any and every treatment. If you have a bruise, I will laser it to help it speed up so that it's not there for quite so long. If you have a question, you call, you're going to get a phone call back same day. We really care about our patients, and that really does set us apart. Because you can say, we care, but proving it and showing it, different.
And I think, along those lines, we believe so much in the education. My partner was selected as a national trainer from 2 of the leading medical aesthetic companies. So the companies that manufacture Botox, cosmetic, and facial fillers, as well as Dysport and Restylane facial fillers. And so I mention that because she truly is training other providers, whether they're physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs throughout the area. And we say, all of us coming together makes the industry better together. So there are enough faces to go around. A patient's truly going to find a practice that works best for them. And what we know sets us apart is that we're just going to stay back to the educational component. We can't say why another practice is using a different product, but we are using this product because it's studied, it's safe, it's reversible, and it gets great results.
So you have your somebody at your organization who really knows the product so well that the people who manufacture the product are actually hiring them to train others how to use it properly so as to make them look better.
Yes.
Oh, yes. In
Right?
fact,
That's pretty intense.
In fact, our biostimulant that we love, Renuva, has also approached Sue to nationally train with them. I mean, she is a savant, the creme de la creme in this industry. She's my mentor. I am lucky to be trained under her exclusively. So her and I are like two peas in a pod, but really she is what sets us apart because she is such a resource for me and a wealth of knowledge about this industry. She has seen it all. She's been doing this for 16 years.
So kind of what I'm getting at, though, is, and I understand, and I'm not trying to downplay the importance of customer service.
Right.
Incredibly important in any industry, right?
Right.
Also not trying to downplay the importance of you educating the patients
Right.
or customers, clients, whatever you prefer they be
All
called.
of the above.
Yeah. I'm not downplaying that either. But what I'm trying to get at is this the kind of industry where, like my industry, it's not always about how good I am as much as it is how well I get to know my clients so that I can give them the best products and services for them. Can you talk to us about that client relationship and what that means and how maybe you might be different than others?
Absolutely. And I think, that relationship.
Unless I'm off base.
No.
Not even a
'Cause
little.
I've been known to be
Dead
that.
on.
It's a huge
It's actually
component.
everything.
Actually, we put a lot of resources into making sure we have the best staff because of the importance of that customer relationship. And that relationship begins from their initial phone call. We have 2 full-time front office concierges who are so knowledgeable and so professional and so personalized. And a patient will come in and they will say, how was your recent trip?
Mm-hmm.
How was your daughter's wedding? How is your renovation going? No matter what the case is. And we see 40 to 50 patients in a given day, and they will make sure that they know who's coming. They're always one step ahead of who's walking through that door. If it's a new patient, they're welcoming them to the practice. They're showing them around. They're giving them a water, making sure they're comfortable. And we carry that same level of service all the way through their treatment and then once they're checking out. So we believe strongly in, we want them to come to us because we're that community practice, right? It feels, if that answers your question.
Hey, Sarasota, we're having a great time talking to Beth Bob and Jamie Florio from Sarasota Facial Aesthetics. If you want to get to know them a bit better, stay tuned for rapid-fire questions fueled by food and beer.
I'm Beth Bob
And I'm Jamie Florio.
with Sarasota Facial Aesthetics.
And this is Rapid Fire.
10 random questions, 10 specific answers, nothing off limits. This is Rapid Fire, fueled by food and beer. What's your favorite genre of music?
I like folky music like Mumford & Sons. They're my fave.
Learn from your mother or spend your days biting your own neck.
I do also, but I've also been known to jam out to a little Kendrick Lamar in my car.
Put it on that beat, ho. Aye, monster on the beat, ho.
Yeah, Beth can throw down.
In school, what class did you absolutely hate?
Team sports, I failed. I skipped it too much.
History.
If we forget history, we will most likely repeat it.
Do you prefer sweet or savory?
Put some flake salt on my chocolate. Give me both.
Maybe I'll have both.
I'm definitely a savory girl.
Who's your all-time celebrity crush?
Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio, but like Titanic Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't mean current Leonardo.
Brad Pitt for sure.
Yes, forever and ever and ever. Yeah.
Forever, ever, forever, ever.
Go-to drink of choice.
I love water more than I love my family, so I'm going to go with that.
I definitely drink, I've been told, too much water, if that's a thing.
In a zombie apocalypse, what's your weapon of choice?
A tank.
The Chieftain tank. It may seem like the perfect weapon against the zombie hordes, but there are a few key rules that you need to follow.
You're running them over, you're shooting them in the face.
A tank. And my boys would be mortified that I just answered that.
What topic could you talk about forever? Mine's food and beer.
Aesthetics. Duh.
Parenting boys.
Go clean your room. No, it's my room. Well, it's my house. Then go clean it.
What's your favorite show to binge watch?
I binge watch everything because I overdo everything, but I love Gilmore Girls.
If you're out on the road, feeling lonely and so cold.
I'm currently binge watching White Lotus.
I'm so glad we did this. Me too.
Do you prefer your barbecue sweet or smoky?
Spicy.
Sweet.
If you're stranded on a deserted island, would you rather be with your worst enemy or just be by yourself?
Solo dolo.
Solo, for sure.
We are now stranded on this deserted island in the middle of the ocean!
Give me a pineapple.
So I love how you talk about the relationship with the clients. Obviously, that's something near and dear to my heart as well in my industry. It kind of reminded me when you described how you have the same level of customer experience from the moment the customers walk in the door to the procedures. It almost reminded me of how concierge medical practices are working. And that's a really growing area. You have any insights about that? And is that, because what I'm getting at is when you call a concierge practice, even the person who answers the phone has a level of knowledge and passion about the care, right? And that's a big difference than sort of like the larger medical groups where, somebody's just getting a wage and doing a task.
Yes.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just different than the experience it sounds like you're providing.
Right. And that's remained important to us since day one. We will oftentimes have our patients call and ask for a front office concierge by name. I mean, they really feel that connection and that relationship with them. And it's something that, in a very growing area and industry where we feel like we're outgrowing our space to some degree, we have contemplated and been approached to expand and open different locations, and we have not done that because we really want to be able to maintain that very personalized approach of they know who they're going to see when they walk in at each and every visit. And of course, when they walk through the doors, but certainly when they're getting their treatment as well.
Now you mentioned, you kind of said no to the expanding by locations. Have you thought about expanding by services at all?
We're constantly expanding by services. So we talk about education, and that ongoing education is, we as a practice and Sue and Jamie as board certified nurse practitioners are constantly studying, attending conferences. We have great relationships with our vendor reps who are bringing us new information all of the time. So we are constantly expanding with the different services we offer. If it's something that we feel like is going to give our patients a good result and fit into the scope of what we offer. We never want to try to expand into anything that's outside of our scope, but always want to make sure we have the latest and technologies and the best of class medical grade.
So for the services you guys offer, what kind of state licensure do you guys is required?
In the state of Florida, in order to be an aesthetic injector, you have to be a nurse practitioner, board certified nurse practitioner. So that's what me and Sue are. So other states, different rules, but that's the bread and butter of it is you have to be a nurse practitioner in the state of Florida. We do have a medical esthetician as well.
Do you want to explain what that is?
Yes, she's also licensed. She does our facials, Morpheus 8, and other medical grade skincare procedures. So she does not inject we do. So we're doing the Botox fillers. We also run the lasers because in the state of Florida, have to be a nurse practitioner to run the lasers. Or, I mean, a PA or a doctor. But at the basic level, you can't be a registered nurse in the state of Florida like you can in other states.
Let's while we're on that topic, let's talk about a part of it that's maybe not as fun, but some of your competitors. Well, I shouldn't even call them competitors. Other people who inject may not be using in-house nurse practitioners the way you do. This is just what I've heard. Is that common that people will have a nurse practitioner sign off and then have other people doing things, or does that
making the rounds, like making the rounds?
To what happens in other practices, though. I'm sure things like that do happen. I mean, not everyone's above board, but we definitely are not that practice. For us, it's everything because it's all about patient safety. And if you are using my license, it's going to be using my license the way it's supposed to be used.
Okay, so everyone doing the actual injecting at your place is a nurse practitioner.
100%. It's just me
operating
and Sue.
the laser. Okay.
Correct.
And to that point, it's not a requirement for us to have a plastic surgeon as our medical directors, but we believe so strongly in that that's something that we've maintained from the beginning and will always do so as well. Meaning we have a physician that is, if there were ever a patient issue that they're overseeing, and there's 4 of those plastic surgeons at our medical director practice that we could call on if there were ever a need and they needed to see that patient as well.
Is that something super common to have that type of relationship?
Not, I think that it's not required.
It's not required, so it's going above and beyond, but people do.
We find it's important. There's a very natural.
It's certainly not required. No.
What's something that separates you guys
You'll see med
as well?
spas popping up all over the place. A urologist can decide, I want to open a med spa.
That's kind of what I was going to ask you about, because I know a lot of doctors who do other things own them. And, how does that work? And it's a noisy space because of that, right? So how do you guys get around that, and how do you separate yourselves in terms of the narrative from a lot of those types of things that are going on?
I think that's where we stay the course and just really focus on what we believe in and what sets us apart. I mean, there's definitely a natural synergy. We have such great relationships with so many plastic surgeons and dermatologists that we refer to all the time, and they send our patients right back to us for the injectables. So even though they offer a lot of those services, by having those relationships, there's that honor system where they're sending the patients back, and they realize they came to us for a reason, for their injectables, their lasers, their skincare, their facials. So they're not trying to then acquire them for those services. They'll see them for what we've referred them to and come back to us.
Well, I would hope like an honest provider, like for example, a dentist who doesn't specialize in root canals, they won't do it. They'll send the patient to a root canal specialist, and then they'll come back. I specialize in ridiculous analogies that have nothing to do with what we're talking
about.
Well,
it's funny though, because dentists technically are doctors, and they do also, there are dentist office where there will be a nurse practitioner working out of it doing Botox. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but as a consumer, it's up to you to decide and do research. Where are you going for your aesthetic treatments? Are you going to the dentist, or are you coming to us, where this is what we do all day, every day, and this is our expertise?
You're specialized.
We're specialized.
I mean, with something like that, I would think anybody who's honest and worth their salt would not, consciously do something that they didn't specialize in when it's something as serious as your face or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Well, and we love, the patients that we're targeting and that are finding our practice already know a lot about us before they come in. They've researched us. They've asked around. They've looked at they've read every review. They've looked at our website. So we pour a lot into that education because we want to attract a certain type of patient as well. We
Great
want somebody
segue.
Educated.
Something I love talking about.
That happens.
Something I love talking about, marketing. What efforts do you guys make for marketing to draw new clients in?
Well, I think we have to thank our patients for the majority of that. I think so much is word of mouth, and we're so grateful for the number of patients that refer family and friends. Outside of that, we have a great website consultant out of California, actually, called Sector 45. They do a phenomenal job on our web presence. Our social media is done in-house with the guidance of our practice consultant, who is just top-notch and phenomenal. Amanda's our practice supervisor. She wears many hats in our office, but she handles our social media. And I've had people contact me and say, do you mind telling me who does your social media? We want to hire her. I'm like, Sorry.
So you're gatekeeping?
We are.
I see you.
Oh, I love that. So no, so social
I don't
media
blame
is
you,
a
by
big
the
part.
way. I don't blame you, by the way.
Sometimes you have to.
You got to.
She's great, and we realize that social media is where we need to have a big presence. I will say grassroots. I've spent over 20 years in marketing and business development, and I think a lot always goes back to grassroots. Even more so in this community where it's so philanthropic and so social, we love to give back. So, if we can get plugged into an event, it ends up being marketing for us, but we love to give back through patients who ask us to give an in-kind donation. We try to find a way to always say yes to those things, and that plays a big role in our growth.
You guys do a lot of the silent auctions, or like what's the in-kind donation for the services that you offer? That must be fun and interesting.
It is.
What are the kinds of things that you give away, and can you give an examples
yes,
of
we can.
some of the things that you've given to?
We just attended an event.
We did.
Yes, we did. For Holiday House. It's a wonderful local charity. They help local children eat over the summer. So
when school lunch isn't
going on. And they also do, so it's for Title I schools in the local area. We can't say enough good things. We both have children in the school system here.
We left the event. We're going to close every Friday and go volunteer.
We are going.
We were so moved.
Oh my gosh, we were. But to answer your question, what was the question?
Treatment?
What types of things you give away for the in-kind donations and what types of events?
Yes.
Silent auctions.
Yeah,
we gave away a little bit of everything at the last one. So we gave away a Botox treatment worth up to $700. So that's 50 units of Botox. That's a full treatment. We gave away filler, a facial, $400 of medical grade skincare, and a laser. It was a total of $3,500 worth.
That was
giveaway.
one basket?
One giveaway.
So see, that's a good plug for whatever
What'd you guys
event
get for it?
you guys are doing.
We got nothing for it.
No, not you. What did
the organization
charity
raise?
Yeah.
I can't remember
that's a
off
great
the top
question.
of my head.
I'm not
but
sure.
Listen,
but
we're not
that's
going to fact check. You can just say $5,500.
$1. I'm not sure.
I know they met their goal of, I think, $15,000.
Yes,
I saw recently, but yeah.
If they met their goal, they could add another Title I school to their roster. So the goal is to expand throughout Sarasota and surrounding counties.
And we want to do something that's going to be, we try to help, our patients, if they're coming to us with their charity of choice, we really want to help them make a big impact. So we, as a smaller business, we're able to really customize what we give away, but it's definitely a service, and we try to make it be something meaningful.
So that's where you get the ideas of some of the organizations you give with from your patients. You hear that, everybody out there, and everyone you do business with, you should be asking them to support the things that you support. That's a no-brainer. And a lot of times they're happy to do it like you are. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, absolutely. If you come into our office and you talk about your business, we were like, give me a business card. Where are your cards?
Go in
we
my
just
wallet.
had a hurricane, sir. A couple of hurricanes.
We're back in hurricane
season
season
again.
again.
Oh, you need a new roof? So no, in Sue's office and mine, we have a whole stack of cards. So because we talk to our patients. I get people ready for weddings. I get people ready, for XYZ event. We see them throughout the year. We talk.
Do you feel like they start confiding in you?
They do confide in me. Your secrets are very safe with me.
Right.
I know a lot about a lot of people. No, I'm just kidding.
Not the stereotype. You guys are almost like the men's barbershop where,
Yeah, except for by law, it's locked down by me.
I need to eat up would like that.
I'm your secret keeper.
I went there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, we're going to get to some Sarasota specific stuff soon. Well, not that we haven't been talking about Sarasota, but he knows what I mean. But, just to kind of wrap up and put a bow on the business side of the discussion, where do you see the business going? What do you see as the strategies for growth? Maybe even just give us kind of where you are now in terms of what your bread and butter is versus where the growth is.
Right. So, I would say we are pretty much at max capacity in the existing space. So, if you asked us what our top goals are year after year, it's smart growth because, again, we want to really make sure that we're staying true to what we do best. If we expand, I joke with my neighbor next door. I'm like, before you ever move, can you let me know? Because we, know we want to stay in that area. We don't have any goals or any aspirations of opening a second location. Again, we just feel like we're sacrificing and we're choosing quantity over quality, and we don't, we want to stay true to the quality. So I think growth for us is just continuing to evolve with the industry, making sure that we have everything available for our patients without sacrificing that level of service. We have three providers on staff. So within our 5 treatment rooms, we're pretty much at capacity, seeing 40 to 50 patients a day. And Sue,
it's a juggle.
And Jamie can, work all 4 of those treatment rooms. And then our medical esthetician has a room entirely to herself.
Sue is one provider, and she can fill all 4 treatment rooms and have all 4 seats in the waiting room filled and run it like you've never seen.
Yeah.
Sue sounds amazing.
Sue is the cream of the crop. She's one of a kind, hilarious, and she is a boss.
She is. She's incredible.
Yeah.
She and I had the chance, so as I mentioned before, we worked together. She was my customer, so she was definitely one of the largest volume injectors. And when we were approached to consider buying the practice.
Well, when you say she was the largest volume injector, that makes it sound like she was getting the largest volume.
No.
No, I'm just joking. But that's what it sounded like.
Definitely not.
But
that would
actually,
be funny.
to that point, when we talk
Big
about
volume injector.
No, but I'm so glad you mentioned that, because when people talk about, well, I don't want to look unnatural and I really want to look natural, and we say, take a look at Sue and see, at her age, she looks phenomenal. She looks great. We're not trying to make people look younger than they are. We're trying to make them look great for their age. And, we realize that we're making patients happy. They'll say that to us over and over again. So while it may sound like it's just a, easy aesthetic treatment, it's really the overall wellness that,
Look good, feel good.
No, that's the truth, though.
That's
Confidence
true.
matters. And I recently had a patient who never had any filler before, very, very hesitant. We consulted more than one time. She finally came in for her treatment. We did a little bit of filler, and she cried tears of joy when she saw herself, because she didn't think that was possible. And she looks like herself. You can't possibly look overdone with 1 syringe of filler. It's not physically possible. A syringe of filler is 1/5 of a teaspoon. It's the size of a blueberry. What you're seeing when you're seeing the pillow face and, the overdone actresses, you're seeing surgery.
What's pillow face mean?
Pillow face.
Give us some jargon.
Pillow face is not jargon. It is TikTok.
TikTok?
Okay? It's TikTok. And we're talking about filler migration. These are like the buzzwords people are seeing online. I don't want filler migration. I don't want pillow face. I don't want to look overdone. Well, that is excessive aesthetic procedures. That's not who we are.
So definition, pillow face. Face looks like a pillow, obviously.
Read between the lines.
Any other ones? Give us some.
That's all I got.
Do you get like the Ozempic face?
Those glasses aren't just for show. The man's really that intelligent.
I'm just,
I got to get a pair of glasses. I know it.
So are there any other ones like the Ozempic face? Is that a thing? I hear about that.
So
give us the third here.
Unfortunately, rapid weight loss does lead to volume loss is, cornerstone of what our industry is replacing and restoring volume, especially deep fat pads in the face. That's what's holding your face up. That's what gives it youth. So when you lose weight, you lose it everywhere. You're not just losing fat in your abdomen. You're losing fat in your deep fat pads, too.
Right. There's no such thing as spot fat loss, right?
No.
I think people, you can do as many crunches as you want. Like, it is what it is, right?
Right. So unfortunately, but also kind of fortunately for us, it is a thing with anyone losing rapid weight, which, we're happy to fill that part of the market, quite literally.
Well, yeah.
And guide patients through that, because it actually is very upsetting for someone who's, meeting these goals of weight loss goals, trying to look and feel their best, and then they look in the mirror and they feel like they're falling.
And we don't want them to waste their money. I mean, this is why we do a very deep dive into their medical history when we have a new patient or even an ongoing patient in the practice, so that if they're on this weight loss journey, and however they're doing it, we say, you know what, we're going to wait until you've met your goal weight, oftentimes, before we're doing a full treatment. We don't want them to, waste their money if they're still planning on losing a lot of weight, right?
Right.
Because you also don't want to be blamed for whatever happens with someone else's treatment, right? I mean, if they...
Absolutely.
It is managing expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want you to spend a chunk of change and have your expectations not be met. That hurts our souls. Mm-hmm. I go home and I'm thinking about you. So we want your expectations to be met. And so that's why we're guiding you based off of our best clinical judgment. If you're on a weight loss journey, yay, good for you. We'll see you through that, and we'll recommend the best treatments during it.
Very, very cool, as Trey would say. You said chunk of change, and that triggered kind of a thought for me. There's a lot of private equity activity in your space, particularly the roll-ups. You want to comment on that and how that's changing the industry, and if that's something that you would consider down the road or not, or just give me something here.
I mean, it's definitely, we have been approached several times to consider selling. And for us, we have not been interested in that. I think, again, we owe it to our patients. We love what we do. We're so passionate about.
But it still makes you feel good. It makes you feel good that you built something that is worth something to someone else, in a sense, right?
And we think about it, at this point, we still have many years ahead of us before retirement in many, many, many years.
I have like 35 years. I'm going to work forever.
But we are so passionate and love what we do. And we also think about our staff. So when you think about these practices like ours that have been acquired, then more often than not, the staff changes. And so we look at our staff who we pour our heart and soul into making it a wonderful place for them to work, that I could not rest my head on my pillow at night doing that to them. So
that's a great answer. Also, also curious, speaking of staff, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the people are what make any business special, right? Especially when they're client-centric businesses. Yes. You're not making a widget. You're, helping people feel good about their faces and whatever else. How do you find your employees? That's a big topic around here for obvious reasons.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll start with word of mouth. So if we're hiring for a position, we'll post on Indeed, and I'll go back to my consultants and say, are you sure that's still the best way to find the best people? We also will ask around to our vendor reps. So we have so many different medical reps who call on our office, and so therefore they're meeting all these different positions throughout town, and they'll know if somebody's looking. So I think that's the grassroots component that I remain passionate about. But LinkedIn and Indeed are really the way that we find the majority of our employees.
I've done well with Indeed. Again, I was reluctant to use it for quite some time. All my employees, staff, word of mouth. But then at some point, you got to fill the
Indeed got me my job. So thank you. I love you.
I was just going to say, so Jamie walked in for her interview, and not only was the feeling mutual that we knew we were going to hire her, but
how long has Jamie worked there?
I have been a nurse practitioner for going on 2 years, and I've worked there throughout my entire career as a nurse practitioner. Oh yeah, I knew where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. I walked in there and said, "Please let me show you I can do this," and they did, and it's going really well.
I read Well, I was listening to one of the B&I podcasts this morning, and the quote was...
Good man.
Gosh, I'm going to botch it.
It's even funnier when you botch it, so...
He's going to let you botch it.
Might as well let it fly.
Let me look at my notes, and I'll get right back.
Amazing.
Well, and while you're looking, because Jamie, when she came in and was looking, we said we had no hesitation, and she was committed to doing all of the training, and she had handpicked us, but we really had handpicked her as well. And
it's a love story.
It is a love story.
I mean, it really is.
It is.
Yes.
And
down to like Sue and I are so similar that like every day for the first couple of weeks we were finding we're both also like 5 feet tall. We were like every day we were like, oh my God, me too. And then her husband, she comes in the next day and goes, my husband goes, let me guess, her husband's name is Mark. And I was like, Sue, my husband's name is Mark. So it's been like the best experience getting to know these women. Working for a women-owned business it's really good. I've never worked in such a good environment. Like the work culture, we are genuinely a family. If I see, if we see each other floundering, the phones are popping off. Emily's going to check my patient and we help each other through the workday, but also through life. Like I just had my baby, my third one, and it's Sarasota Facial Aesthetics is baby. Penelope is our mascot. She comes in every Monday. She should have come. She can't talk yet, but she's very engaging.
We haven't had a baby on the podcast yet, so she would be the youngest.
Well, okay, next time. She will run this room.
All right, here, I got my quote. When hiring, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice.
Oh, so you want ignorance on fire, baby. Sue calls me an idiot savant.
Yeah.
That is the best. And actually, I mentioned that we have such a great relationship with so many practices in the community. And I had another practice owner reach out and say, how did you all find Jamie? And it's true. I mean, her reputation, and I would say it's almost impossible for somebody just with 2 years as a nurse practitioner and an injector in this town has this amazing of a following so early on, and her results are incredible. And that was the best compliment, is having another practice owner
I'm
come and say,
flattered.
now, how did you find her? And I think your quote sums it up perfectly. So
Yes,
great.
I
And
love
have to get
that.
from you.
I love that. That's me.
So, did you both grow up here? Like, how'd you end up in Sarasota? Usually everybody's got a story.
You go first, Beth.
Mine is like, I had a great uncle that lived here and we used to come visit. I'm a native Floridian. I grew up in St. Petersburg, and
She said government name, St. Petersburg, no St. Pete. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Is that interesting?
But my parents, I was in college at FSU, go Noles. And my parents moved to Sarasota. And so when I graduated, I lived in Central Florida. I met my husband, and we were coming here to plan our wedding 20 years ago. And he's from Texas and said, why don't we move there? And I thought, having not been from here, I knew people from here. I thought, a retirement community? Have you lost your mind? He said, this place is paradise. So we moved, convinced my sister to move, and the rest is history. We've been here 20 years and love it so much. I think Sarasota has so much to offer. It's changed a lot, but I'm pro-growth and change, and I love what has been done to this community.
Well, we're going to get there, too.
Let's don't jump ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
you can jump ahead. I'm just going to.
I am from here. I was 6 months old when I moved here. So, yes, I'm a Sarasota native. I went to Riverview High School. I met my husband at Valentino's Pizzeria and Trattoria on Clark Road. In fact, they catered our wedding. I am a Florida girl, Sarasota girl. So,
okay,
our roots are deep.
So, been here a long time.
Yep.
Born and raised here. I'm doing the things that Brad would do. He's always talking about, native. I'm like, I'm not a native, and I don't, whatever. I chose to be here. I've been here. My family's been here 25 years.
Just a cranky old man from New York.
Yeah, basically.
We got a few of those.
That's my family, though.
That's what we do.
It's mine.
Okay. So I have to pass it over to Trey Martell, who has a very specific question about Sarasota.
Don't stare at the screen.
I don't know what the question could possibly be.
Okay. Tom Law and Trey both want to know, what are your thoughts on roundabouts? Do you love them or do you hate them, and why? You go first.
Oh my God, I love them.
Tell us why.
Because I can breeze through that baby like the best of them. If you don't know how to work a roundabout, that's your problem, because I'm blowing through this thing.
All gas, no brakes, huh?
Oh, yes. That's the whole point of a roundabout. Keep the flow of traffic moving.
Do you ever go around twice just for fun, just because you can?
No, but I do go around twice if I miss my exit. Another great reason to love a roundabout. You don't have to make a U-turn.
There we go.
Sorry.
That's one thing we haven't heard on the podcast yet.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're
You're
breaking ground
welcome.
every week with pointless questions.
I also am pro roundabout. I love them. I think that we needed those in order to continue to grow at the rate that we're growing in Sarasota. And I mean, aside from you being in the car with me when you asked that question the other day, I may have said a different answer when I was going through a roundabout.
You had a little episode. What happened?
Just a minute. Just
What
a little road
happened?
rage. No, I think I just got bottlenecked and I wanted to blame it on someone else, and it may have been my fault. But
I've done that before.
have you done that?
Well, my story was in I was in Publix, and I was getting some food for Taco Tuesday, and I was all racked up, and I left my cart. I was 2 carts back, and I'm like, well, shit, I want some Diet Dr. Pepper. And I
wanted that for someone I know.
I sprinted to get it. I came back, and somebody moved my cart and butt me, and I got upset at first, and then I thought to myself, you know what? They're probably right. I left my cart and I held up the line. I was
Jesus, Trey. I'd ask you for dinner, but you already told us what you're having.
Well, I'm just telling stories.
Wow, this sounds like other stories we've heard on this podcast before.
Well,
I'm not
Brad's
going to
not
name
here.
names.
Why don't we want to go through the roundabout and
Brad's
question?
not here.
Yes.
Who's going to tell stories? Anyway, so yeah, we all love roundabouts now, and I feel like that we started asking this question almost 2 years ago, and there was a lot more hate for roundabouts, and people are a lot more pro now. Do you feel that way, Felipe?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. The more people get comfortable with them,
They don't know it.
and we
how
have
to use
more.
it.
So whether you
Ignorance
like
on
it or
fire.
not, roundabouts
That's
are here to
right,
stay. Nobody's going to unbuild them.
Right.
No, but I want roundabouts at more intersections. I have like intersections that I want to propose
Yes.
a roundabout.
We talked about multiple.
And when I was in traffic the other day, another reason I saw an ambulance get stuck It was coming north on Tuttle, about to hit Fruitville, and it got squeezed in. Now, if there was a roundabout there,
that is a
lives.
horrible intersection. You're right.
Yeah,
but also, do you know how to work a four-way stop? Because nobody else does.
I mean, kind of, but I'm not
Would you rather be like, you go, no, you go, no, you go, T-bone, or just go on a roundabout?
That's a fair point.
That is.
You know, so as much as we like joking around about roundabouts, well, it's a fun way to get at a question that sometimes is, you know, a little controversial in Sarasota, and that's about growth and change. Right, the roundabouts are one of the most obvious physical manifestations of the change that's happened here in the last 20 years. Right, so what are your thoughts on that?
I'm pro-growth, but I'm also pro-environment, and so it does, for me, make it a little hard to watch them take away, like my poor cows that were on Honore, Clark and Honore. They had a little right by the Northridge Publix. Gone. There's concrete. Building.
Those cows were rented, right? We talk about this a lot.
But they're still pretty cute.
Yeah, it is nice to have the cows.
And it's, you know, like my kids are like, hi, cows. And now they're like, concrete.
Yeah, well.
I think farm animals are also known a lot for destroying environments, aren't they?
You're 100% right, Trey.
Okay, we're not talking about the meat industry, so I'd rather.
No, it's not even the meat industry. It's cow flatulence are actually a major source of greenhouse gas emissions.
Oh yeah, no, that's also true. Yeah, yeah.
Who would have thunk it? You know.
Okay, fair play.
Any thoughts on growth change?
I mean, I'm pro-growth. I think that Sarasota has done a good job. You know, I mean, I think that it's always easy to find the negative in something, but I think that, you know, they're doing a great job. I'm a business owner. I love what the future might hold for my children to hopefully come back here eventually one day as well. So I'm pro-growth.
I got kind of a hot take on this. I've been thinking about it recently. You know, the Obsidian building, which is a tall building, just got, you know, it generated a lot of controversy, you know, because it was higher than everything else. And buildings downtown tend to generate a lot of controversy when they're building new, especially bigger or more densely populated buildings. That has nothing to do with most of the problems people have with growth.
Right.
The problems people have with growth are the traffic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that's usually not because of affordable housing downtown or bigger housing downtown or anything like that. It's because of one way to get from all the houses we're building far out east to the places people actually want to go, live, work, and play.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
it's a real issue. Build the roundabouts.
Build the roundabouts help that problem.
Build the roundabouts.
Actually, you know.
I know they do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so to wrap up, we always like to ask one question of our guests. You've been on Sarasota SpeaX. You see what we do here. Thank you for coming, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for having us.
Who do you know, who we may not know, who Sarasota needs to know? Who can you recommend that we invite on Sarasota SpeaX Podcast?
How much time do you have?
We got plenty of time.
2 each.
Yeah, give us as many as you want.
So I would say,
and by the way, we don't have to say if these are your clients or not. I don't know if HIPAA probably applies to you guys. So
of course,
just because you know them,
Dr. Cologne,
nobody
please.
should assume they're clients. Trying to cover them here.
Well, we were talking about, I think Jamie actually mentioned it before, the Holiday House SRQ being a new initiative. I don't know that there are two mothers of local students here who started this organization, and when the speaker, somebody mentioned in the speaking that Sarasota is really the tale of two cities, and how do we pump the resources that may be existing somewhere to help other children at different schools that might not have those resources. It was so impactful to us. So I think if you have the ladies from that organization on, that could be really impactful. I think if we think about local, and then another local business, I had mentioned the Compound. I don't know if they've been on here.
They have not, but you know, obviously a lot of people know what they are. The bumper stickers are very visible, and
You
they're
don't know
just
what a
generally
bumper
regarded
sticker
as good
means,
people.
though.
They are, and I mean, it's a local store, but I think where they really came in and made an impact was after the hurricane. They were a hub for gathering resources, and it was just so phenomenal as to what they were doing to give back to the community and really bringing the community together. They were a place to come get a meal, to come get some drinks, to hand out resources to those that were really, out for the count after the hurricane on the barrier islands. So I think
That's a great idea. If you could make an intro to that, we would love that.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
I'm going to just shamelessly plug Valentino's. They're the
Okay.
best. Italiano in Sarasota. My husband still works there. I mean, it's a love
I was about to
story.
say, do you have an economic interest in Valentino's?
I definitely do.
So you do.
I certainly do, but I also really love it. We love it. This is another why Sue and I are twins. Before I even started working at Sarasota Facial Aesthetics, they do Wednesday lunches, which is so sweet. They buy us lunch once a week. They would order Valentino's all the time. All the time. It's Sue's favorite restaurant.
That might
We're
be
twins.
why we really hired you.
It's definitely why.
Just kidding.
Valentino's. Okay.
The balsamic vinaigrette.
Well, you got to give us one more also.
We talked about crop juice because we recently did a little collab with them.
Oh, tell us about that collab and about the owner operator of Crop. I've come across, I think I met her husband once, I think
Yeah.
it's her partner.
I believe
I'm not
it
sure.
is. I'm
Yeah.
not actually sure.
I'm not so sure, but we recently had them in. She was gracious enough to come to our office and
cool.
provide our patients and us with a sample of all the different juices that they have to offer and their donuts. And it was really, their brand really falls in line with health and wellness. So, we eat pretty healthy at our job and we want our patients to be healthy as well. So it worked for us. It was a great collaboration.
That we're really exploring a lot of co-op opportunities because we want to support other local businesses as well, and so that was a great one.
Yeah,
And
it was.
patients were so excited. Wait,
Yeah,
we're
we had
getting
juice for
crop
days.
today.
We were thrilled.
So
It is nice to get Crop. I do enjoy it.
Yes, always.
So we'll take that intro too
yes,
Yeah,
when you get
awesome.
some time.
absolutely, we'll get those over to you.
And speaking of local collaborations, thanks so much for coming on and collaborating with the #1 local podcast.
Why you gotta do
Sarasota
quotes?
Speaks.
We're official.
I don't-
Number
you know.
one.
It's
Check
official.
Check the
It's official.
magazine.
I told my friend I was going on a podcast, and she
The
said,
number one.
"Is it Sarasota SpeaX?"
The number one.
Really?
We're in the
I swear.
magazine.
Give your friend
And
a
I
gold,
said,
a gold
yes.
star. All
I will.
right.
I'll give it to her.
Fantastic.
later. Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys. I enjoyed hearing about your story and about your wonderful business.
We're
Thanks
looking
for
forward to
having
coming
us.
in soon.
Right.
Yes.
Oh,
Pause.
thank you for
Felipe,
mentioning
the best,
that.
Pause.
the best self.
What's that?
A nice
not gonna make you look at
segue.
it.
Oh, wait.
Younger.
We need to do. You need to do something?
Yes.
We do.
Okay, let's. Can you
so
cut
speaking
that?
of
Yeah.
that, we're not going to put you on the spot to tell us what service you want, but we would like to treat you to a service. So you can.
So any service of your choice, but in the meantime, Sarasota SpeaX Self-Care Saturday. I want to see you both in your biocellulose masks from SkinCeuticals this weekend.
I think we could do that.
Okay. I expect to see it. I expect to see a glow come the next morning.
Deal.
I'll do this before Aquapalooza this weekend.
Amazing.
We're going to do that boating thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or after to hydrate that skin after being
Or
in the
after.
sun.
One of the two. Maybe
Yes.
both.
Before or after?
Before and after we have more.
Good answer. Good answer.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Right.
There you go. Before and
I
after.
even have one for
Eric.
E-Dub.
Eric.
E-Dub's got it under control. E-Dub, a.k.a. Babyface.
I want to hear about
We're gonna
this
keep that face
Aquapalooza
baby face.
after you all
I'll
do
send you
that.
the picture.
Yes, send it to us.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Are we good? We're cut.
Thanks so much
Let's
again.
take our
Yeah,
picture.
On.